Hey there, I just got in this Lady Jaye figure. She is the next G.I. Joe action figure from HIYA Toys. As you can see, she's about 4 inches tall. You can see the artwork over here, and this is a very HIYA looking package. Flipping this around, no file card, just a lot of languages and a couple promo images right there. Let's get her off this card and take a closer look at her. Here she is off the card. We're going to do something a little bit different today. Instead of the accessories first, we're going to look at the figure first. So, okay, I'll just be really honest. She had some issues. She has had, whatever, plural, current, present, past. She's got issues. So when I first took her out of the box, there were a lot of what I would call fused parts, fused joints. I couldn't get either of these shoulders to rotate. They would lift up and down, hinge just fine, but I couldn't get them to rotate. This right elbow, I couldn't get to rotate. I could kind of, a little bit, get it to hinge just a little bit. Then these thigh swivels right here, they also wouldn't move. I had to free them. I had to do all this stuff with my hair dryer, so they now rotate. And then down here at the ankles, they hinged, but they wouldn't pivot. So I had a lot of freeing of joints to do. And so now this figure is a little bit loose. However, there is one joint that was always loose to begin with, but by having to warm this figure up, it made it looser, and that is her left bicep right there. And so you can kind of see it wiggles around a little bit. It rotates just fine, but it's an extremely loose bicep. This right one over here rotates, but if you notice, it's not wiggling as much. It's actually moving the upper arm, the shoulder, more than this one is. That one's not moving the shoulder at all. So she's not a bad figure to look at. It's just she's got some problems, and I'm not sure. HIYA, come on, quit rushing these figures through. Just because you announce them one day, we don't need them the next day. Take your time. Make these figures good. We can wait a couple years. Wait a minute. Maybe. Never mind. Anyway, her paint apps are kind of interesting. I think you can see pretty well. It looks like she's sunburned or suntanned, like right there. In the middle of her chest area. It's not down here, not up there. It's just kind of right in the middle. She looks like her elbows also have either been suntanned or bloodied or something. I'm not sure what's going on there. That could be from freeing that joint. But her elbows also kind of look a little weird and orange. And even down around the base of the wrist kind of looks a little dark colored. I do like the look of this figure. Unfortunately, there are a few little things. She's got a strap that you can remove that goes around her torso if you do it just right. There you go. You can tuck her belt down. There we go. Tuck it down to where it should be. And then she could look like this. Let's go ahead and tuck this. Let's not tuck it back on. So, arms rotate. You can lift her arm up at the shoulder about this far. Now, if you notice, she's going to have a bit of a slanted T, and that's because this arm is up. It's just the elbow, not the elbow, sorry, the bicep rotation. There you go. Now it's more of a T, but it can sag just a little bit. It's that loose. As you can see, it rotates very well. Her elbows also hinge and rotate very well. Let's see. You got a good 90-degree angle right there, so that works well. Her hands are on a wrist ball joint, so it hinges and swivels everything you're used to just because that ball joint. She does have a mid-torso cut, so she can rotate around quite well. As you can see, her head is very easy to rotate, and she can lean back about that far, but she can't really rotate forward too far. There is a waist rotation. hiding behind this humongous belt that likes to just keep working its way up. If you've noticed, I've pushed it down around her waist now like a couple times, but as I maneuver and do things, it just likes working its way up. She might have a little bit too large of pockets back here to try to keep this belt down. I'm pushing it down one more time because I don't think her belt should be through her midsection, her stomach area. Do you? Her abs? You know, this is her ab belt. If you want her to do the splits, she can do the splits pretty well. If you want her to sit, because of the lovely drop down hips here, she can do that very well. And as I said, drop down hips, so back and forth. The rotation is there at the thigh. There is also a rotation inside of this upper leg where that ball joint connects into that. There's another little hidden rotation in there that it doesn't move nearly as well. You're going to have to actually put your fingers up there and rotate back and forth if you want that. Double pinless knees. She can bring her knees back that far. Nothing at the boot cut, and I don't believe HIYA's had any boot cuts whatsoever. If you want her to lean back from the hinge of her ankles, she's pretty good. She can go back about that far, and going forward, not nearly as good, but probably more human-like, about that far. And I did mention there was a pivot, so you can pivot those ankles. Just if and when you get this figure, you're gonna be gentle with it. It's gonna need some gentleness initially because of what I would call the frozen joints. And that's a little disappointing, but I think she looks good. Let's come back here. I think the face looks actually really pretty good compared to maybe Classified. I think I just made it, I think I insulted her on accident. I think the face actually looks really pretty good compared to some of the images we saw. I like it a lot. I'm pretty pleased with this. The only thing I'm disappointed about in regards to the head is that Classified had a swappable hairpiece. So you could take the hat and hairpiece off and swap it out with hair. That would have been kind of cool to have a hairpiece swapped on there. But she's a lot more like the vintage figure in that she's got a ball style hat over her head. She does have a little bit lighter color hair than we're used to seeing for Lady Jaye. It's more of a dark blonde? Not really blonde, I shouldn't have said that, but like a very light brown. We're used to a little bit darker Lady Jaye hair. I'm going to go ahead and tuck this on. So let's get in and look at these accessories. There's a few important things you need to know about the accessories. So we'll begin with the first one that I think is important to discuss, and that is her backpack. So if you have the Classified figure, or you know of the Classified figure, then you know that her backpack has I don't know if it's a camera or a flashlight, maybe it's both. Anyway, HIYA's is really fragile. As you can see, it's in two pieces. It broke. Taking it out of the package broke it, because this is extremely fragile. There's a lot of little small joints and small pieces, and the piece that connects directly to the backpack essentially as I lifted it up, I'm not sure if the paint or the joint portion was fused, but just as I started to lift it up, it just did that. Didn't feel it at all. So I'm gonna have to put some glue in there and reglue it because it's not supposed to come off. And actually, I almost had it back on there. But the nature of how you're moving this makes it a pretty fragile, it's kind of a difficult joint. But look at the coloring of the backpack. Doesn't it look great? I like the colors. I like how it's kind of dirtied a little bit. I like this metal color, silver, right through the middle. So the camera flashlight, I can't remember what it is, has a joint right there as well. So you can move this back and forth. And it has a joint right there, so you can move it back and forth. Several locations. It's pretty awesome. And that's the only places, as far as I know, it should move. Let's bring in Classified backpack here for a minute. So this is the Classified version, and you can see it's got joints all over. In fact, actually, the place where it broke off the backpack I think is this area. It's not even a proper joint there. This does rotate around, but I don't think it's supposed to on this. Just looking at how this thing has been made, I wouldn't try to rotate anything on here. It doesn't look like it would. If I might put it under heat just to see if it loosens things up, but looking at this connector point right here, I probably wouldn't even bother rotating it. I'm just going to glue this thing in and leave it as is because, you know, it doesn't actually need to be rotated while you're displaying a figure. But I would still say be gentle when you take this out of the package because the backpack and the camera/flashlight, I gotta look that up to see exactly what it is. Just, it's fragile, so be gentle with it. Then while we're at it, we've got the spear gun mechanism, and we have a nice bright silver spear. It slides right in, just like that. We'll discuss this in a minute, how we attach this to her hands. Then we've got an itty-bitty tiny knife that will go into a sheath that's on her belt. We got a couple hands here, so let me... Got a set of hands. It's pretty much just that. Not trigger fingers, just like a C shape. And they are very, very small. Here we have a battlefield figure stand, and looks pretty much like HIYA's other items there. And we've got, let me grab this here, 2 connectors that you can hook to attach multiple battlefield figure stands together, so you can create a much larger display with your G.I. Joe figures if you would like to. So over here on this side, as I mentioned, you can slide the knife in, so we'll just go ahead and do that real quick. Put it in right there. Goes in oh so smooth and easy. So then we're going to have to get a little bit closer to the camera. You're going to get to see my hands filling up probably half of this screen here, because I want to show you exactly how, let's take out the spear. I want to show you how you hook the spear gun into her hand, because it's got a middle grab spot. So essentially you're going to have to like pry her fingers open like so, and then tuck this thing in there. And while typically that might not be a problem, the problem is it's going to make it a little bit loose. Well, actually it was looser earlier. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit loose on her now. So you'll definitely need to have the second hand grab the... Come on, there we go. Definitely need to have that second hand. Oh, and we just lost it. And we just lost her. And she's back from the ravine of my room here. But let's see. Let's pry those fingers open just a little bit. She's got some pretty small hands compared to the other figures, so she's a dainty flower. A dainty flower is Lady Jaye. Almost sounds like a rhyming book. Alright, so I don't know if you can tell, it is a little difficult. There we go, got one in. We got one in. Can we get the other one in? Don't loosen the grip. Once you get this figure posed, you're probably never, ever gonna want to change her out again. No, no, no! Okay, pry these fingers open. No, we lost it! Alright, so, I think you get the idea. I'm not gonna, oh, actually, now that I've pried the fingers open enough, that actually worked. Let me try one more time. Be a little bit patient here with me. Oh, there we go. There we go. We got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Check it out. Don't mess with the J. Or whatever. Tuck the spear in very gently, very carefully. Now you can kind of pose her and just, you know, don't ever touch her ever again. Never ever. Don't ever touch her. Pose her and forget her. Well, I mean, don't forget her. I mean, just look at her on a shelf. Now, Firefly had a problem with his backpack, and her backpack is extremely tight. Makes me nervous about actually tucking this backpack in for fear that that post is going to, well, come out like fireflies broke off. And I actually still haven't fixed that yet. But there, that's on enough. You kind of get the, oh, it came out of the hand. It came out of the hand again. You know, if you don't play with your figures, you just display them, you might consider gluing this on. I don't ever recommend gluing things like accessories to figures, but you know, in this case, this is frustrating. Ah, the whole thing came off. This is frustrating. So yeah, get her into a pose, put her on a shelf, and walk away. You know, back away very gently. I hope you don't live in a place with earthquakes, because any movement is just going to drop this spear gun, or is it a javelin gun? Spear gun. Out of her hand. There we go. We ain't touching her anymore. No touchy. No touchy. Just going to point. There's Lady Jaye. There's the spear gun. There's the backpack. Oh. So anyway, here's HIYA Lady Jaye. I'll try my very best to gently show her next to the classified figure. I know I said don't touch her. I'm doing it right now. Just stay. Don't fall. Don't drop the gun. And here we have Giantess Lady Jaye now next to her. And as you can see, like all the other HIYA figures, they're based off of the classified design, except for classified has black boots, HIYA has brown boots, and it's interesting that classified didn't fill in the paint these little shin guards, but HIYA did. I'm wondering if it was around the backlash when people didn't like these shin guards or these boot guards, and they started getting upset about them. Anyway, classified Lady Jaye does not have painted kneecaps or knee armor or knee pads, whereas the HIYA one has brown. And the browns are a little bit more browner. The classified browns are a little bit more, grayish brown, a little bit more muted. I really like the face on this one. I think this one looks really good. I know there was a bit of a discussion in the community around the time this figure came out about what this figure looked like. And I'm not going to mention it. If you know, you know, and, you know, you're welcome. But we'll rotate her around very carefully. I should have put the backpack on. Anyway, generally speaking, she looks about the same. She's got the brown belts, the brown straps. There's really nothing. The details about the same. Except for, actually, I will point this out. Her hairdo is a little bit different. And you can see even the darker brown versus this lighter brown. So let's gently rotate her. Oh, and this Joe Pro. I keep finding these things. We can move this one's arms. There we go. The Joe Pro is actually very interesting in that, stand girl. There we go. This one from HIYA is very silver, very bright, whereas the classified is kind of blended in with the color of the belt. All you see really is the blue circle, but HIYA's blue circle has a little white circle in it. So it looks a little bit more impressive. I like that silver. I think that silver is really awesome. The spear gun or javelin gun is all black. Even the spear javelin itself is all black, whereas HIYA's is all silver. I like that. I like this bright silver color. I'm going to set her off to the side, bring in Retro Lady Jaye, and while her javelin is not bright silver, it is a light gray color, so I'd say it actually more matches the javelin in there than anything. But you can tell that this is a very bright green compared to this one. This is definitely more retro inspired of the original 80s figure. So I think we are done there. And I've only got one height comparison for you today, and that is Agent Helix from the modern era, the early 2000s G.I. Joe, 25th anniversary style figures. You can see she's actually a little bit taller. Lady Jaye is a little bit shorter. I'm going to try and stand her up a little bit higher. These legs. Without, I'm going to just, let's quit tiptoeing over this. Let's get these accessories off. Let's treat her like a figure. There we go. An action figure, right? An action figure. I couldn't think of another word that rhymed. very well. But anyway, so there we go. Now she's standing up a little bit more straight, but you can see she's still a little bit shorter than Agent Helix. So now we're going to do my favorite portion, and that is knocking the figures over. Now, it is bringing in the other HIYA figures that we have and doing kind of like just showing them all off together, height comparisons, whatever, visual comparisons. Here we have Flint, you know, her guy, and she must really love this guy. Just that. Anyway, we have Beachhead we'll put over here on this side of her. You can see where he stands height-wise. We've got a Storm Shadow. Sorry. Wow, that was the worst thing I could have said. Snake Eyes right there. Pretty cool looking. We can bring in some Cobras. Actually, I didn't leave enough room for like Cobras or anything. Storm Shadow. Actually, I should put Storm Shadow behind Snake Eyes, right? Makes sense. And we got Destro. Don't worry, guy. Your girl's coming soon. She's winging her way as we speak. That's right, the Baroness is coming real soon. I expect that I probably will have her. Stan, Beachhead. You and Firefly, golly, you two have problems. Anyway, I expect the Baroness will be here, maybe even Major Blood, next week. Dude, just stand. Just stand. Just do it. I'll put Cobra Commander back here. By Destro. And finally we have Firefly, who, since likes to fall over backwards, going to put him in the back. Back there. And you get an idea. Stay. You kind of get an idea of their height. Yes, Firefly is a little bit shorter, and yes, Beachhead is just a little bit shorter than the other male figures, but there she is. I think she looks really pretty good. I'm extremely disappointed that a couple joints are really loose, and I'm really disappointed that the backpack broke just taking it out of the box. Maybe you'll get lucky, maybe you won't have that issue. I hope you don't. And I'm only a little disappointed that so many joints seem to be fused together to where I had to use my hairdryer to free them up. Just, that's a little disappointing, but it happens apparently a lot more often these days than I even like to admit. So here we have all the up-to-date releases of the G.I. Joe HIYA action figure line. Some are still available, while there's a few that are going to be more difficult to find. But I'm really getting excited here because Baroness and Major Blood will be showing up next week, and I do believe that by the end of the year, we're going to have Tiger Force Flint, Gung Ho, and Cobra Trooper, meaning we're going to have about half of all the revealed HIYA action figures. Man, that is so exciting. I can't wait. Overall, these have been a lot of fun. Yeah, there's been a few issues, at least one issue, maybe two issues, one issue. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you learned a little bit. I will see you in the next one.